The king grasped the floating flask, sealed it with a stopper etched in arcane symbols, and muttered, "You are too obstinate, my daughter. This will teach you obedience." With a deep, throbbing chant, King Shomari invoked a spell in a deep, incantation tone. "Spirit of entrapment, heed my decree. Within this crystal vessel, seal my child from me. Let her be removed from all who roam. Enclosed within for 3 full years, alone." And so, Princess Adana was trapped by her own father's ruthless spell. Far, far away, tucked between rolling green savannas and towering baobab trees, lay the village of Mukarema. Overlooking this lively settlement stood the royal compound, where King Shomari presided over his people with measured guidance. He was a tall, imposing figure who wore an ornate cloak woven with golden threads, symbolizing his lineage. Yet King Shomari's true pride was his daughter, Princess Adana, a young woman known for her gracious heart and piercing gaze that reflected her noble soul. Princess Adana grew up learning the duties of a royal child. She greeted her people with warm smiles on festival days and accompanied the elders to distribute food to the needy whenever the harvest was plentiful. There was not a single person in Mukarema who did not admire her. She had a natural ease with everyone: farmers, potters, healers, children, and the elderly. But as she matured, one particular figure occupied her thoughts above all others: Prince Jabari from the kingdom of Daolinzi, a neighboring land separated from Mukarema by thick forests and winding rivers. Prince Jabari visited the royal compound often, drawn there by trade routes and shared feasts. Over time, the connection between him and Princess Adana blossomed into a powerful affection. However, one day, under the blistering midday sun, Princess Adana decided she must share her feelings with her father. She mustered up her courage, and with a heart aflutter, she stepped into the spacious courtyard where King Shomari often pondered matters of state. "My father, I come before you with an important announcement. Prince Jabari has asked for my hand in marriage, and I have agreed. I believe we can unite our 2 kingdoms in harmony and build upon the love we share," Adana explained softly. The king, who had been sitting on a carved wooden throne embellished with symbols of the ancestors, lifted his chin and studied his daughter. He had long dreamed of a union for Adana, but not with Prince Jabari. Instead, King Shomari favored Prince Wekesa, a fierce warrior from the southwestern plains. Prince Wekesa's people possessed great strength and commanded fear among potential foes. King Shomari believed such an alliance would bring wealth and security. King Shomari studied his daughter once more and said sternly, "Adana, I have other plans for you. Prince Jabari may have a kind heart, but that does not make him suitable to strengthen Mukarema. You shall marry Prince Wekesa. He is formidable and decisive. The future of our people depends on strong alliances, not mere tenderness." Adana, her voice trembling with emotion, pleaded with the king. "My father, I do not desire to wed out of convenience. My heart belongs to Jabari, and it always will. I cannot disobey love. I beg you to reconsider." In that moment, father and daughter locked eyes, both stubborn, both unwavering. The king's patience wore thin, and he roared in frustration, alarming the guard stationed nearby. "Enough. If you refuse to honor my decision, then you shall taste the consequences of your disobedience." Adana tried to protest, but her voice faltered as the king bellowed orders. Soldiers escorted the princess out of the courtyard, heading for the secluded palace garden. There, in the midst of ebony sculptures and flowering shops, glimmered an ancient fountain said to be imbued with mystical powers by the ancestors. King Shomari, guided by fury, drew near the water's edge. He lifted a small calabash gourd from a hidden niche in the fountain stone base. Legend has it that this gourd was passed down by the early guardians of Mukarema, containing potent enchantments to trap even the most powerful spirits. With a deep, throbbing chant, he invoked a spell. Spirit of entrapment, heed my decree. Within this crystal vessel, seal my child from me. Let her be removed from all who roam. Enclosed within for 3 full years, alone. Wind swirled around Princess Adana, and a gust of unnatural air pulled her toward the fountain. Her form shimmered as though turning into vapor. She felt her voice failing, her hands losing their solidity. Then, with a surge of light, her entire being was compressed into a delicate crystal flask that hovered in midair above the fountain. It sparkled under the sun's intensity, seemingly mocking her captivity. The king grasped the floating flask, sealed it with a stopper etched in arcane symbols, and muttered, "You are too obstinate, my daughter. This will teach you obedience." Within that bottle, Princess Adana could neither feel the lush grass beneath her feet nor see the comforting smile of her mother, the queen. She was cut off from her beloved Prince Jabari. Days blurred, and her despair grew like a creeping vine. The worst torment was the notion that Jabari might forget her. After all, 3 years was a long time for a heart to wait, especially when no one knew where she had gone, or even that she was trapped at all. Just when Adana thought hopelessness would consume her, she noticed a flicker of movement. Out of thin air, a petite, winged creature emerged, a charcoal-scaled dragon barely larger than a village cat. His small wings fluttered with a faint whisper, and his eyes glowed with curiosity. His name was Kirabo, a once mighty guardian spirit cast into a diminutive shape by the same enchantment that imprisoned Adana. "Greetings, O sorrowful princess. Pardon my lateness. I was busy polishing my scales." "Quite shiny, no? Who are you? Can you help me escape?" asked Adana. Kirabo shakes his tiny head regretfully and answers, "Sadly, no. My duty is to watch you. I was assigned by that formidable spell to keep you from fleeing. But I can offer you company, perhaps share interesting stories, bring you fresh fruit, and try to lift your spirits." Princess Adana's hope was shattered upon hearing Kirabo's words. But as the weeks wore on, she took what solace she could in his friendly chatter. He told her about the outside world, about the changing seasons in Mukarema, and about how people whispered her name with grief. Still, Adana's longing for freedom only intensified as she considered each passing day. For all her might and willpower, she remained an invisible presence locked away in that crystal prison, inaccessible to all except her mystical warden, Kirabo. Meanwhile, back in the grand city of Daolinzi, Prince Jabari could find no peace. He could not fathom why his beloved Adana had vanished. Days after she disappeared, he visited Mukarema, only to see the gates heavily guarded. Rumors buzzed in the marketplaces. The princess fled with a foreign suitor. She must have broken the king's heart. Perhaps she was cursed for angering the spirits. No one had a shred of proof, and the king himself refused to offer answers. Out of desperation, Prince Jabari roamed the fields and hills, searching for any clue. For months, he found nothing but heartbreak, a silent palace, and a father's stony expression. Prince Jabari, his voice trembling and with sorrow. "Adana, where are you? I will never stop seeking you." His emotional pleas fell on the king's deaf ears. While King Shomari had regrets gnawing at him in private, he kept a stern front, unwilling to relent. When Prince Jabari's relentless search gained the attention of foreign kingdoms, a mysterious noblewoman arrived in Daolinzi. She called herself Lady Safiya. Cloaked in dark attire, she claimed descent from an influential line of rulers. Soft-spoken and courteous, she insinuated that she held the key to the prince's happiness. But beneath that veneer like a secret, Lady Safiya was no ordinary noble. Cursed since childhood, she was half witch, half human. In the brightness of day, she wore a monstrous form concealed by illusions. Only at night, under the stars, could she appear fully human. Lady Safiya's cunning plan was to get close to Prince Jabari, convincing him to abandon his search for honor. "My prince, I have heard tales of your sorrow. Perhaps you and I could unite our lands. I am sure we could find a way to ease your burden. I only wish to see you smile again." Little did Jabari know, Lady Safiya was weaving enchantments to cloud his judgment. Though part of him yearned to remain faithful to honor, the unrelenting heartbreak and the illusions creeping into his mind made him uncertain. Meanwhile, inside that transparent prison, Princess Adana lingered for what felt like centuries. Rainy seasons and dry spells came and went, yet she could only watch the world through a hazy mirage within the bottle. Kirabo, in his honest attempts, tried to entertain her. He'd conjure illusions of the savannah's wildlife, elephants trumpeting under the scorching sun, or flocks of brilliant kingfishers darting around a winding river. Yet none of it could replace her yearning to reunite with Jabari. Adana would whisper to herself, "Will he still remember me after 3 long years? Does he believe the rumors that I abandoned him? Spirits, grant me strength." Far beyond Adana's prison, King Shomori wrestled with guilt. He had locked away his only child, depriving her of joy, all for the sake of forging a powerful alliance. Whenever he wandered past the garden fountain, he saw his own reflection and felt the bite of remorse in his heart. He never broke the spell, though, for pride and fear held him back. He had sworn that adversity would tame Adana's willfulness. But a father's conscience can be a heavy burden to bear, and each passing day weighed on him. However, not all was lost for Princess Adana. Kirabo, after many months, decided to hatch a scheme. He had studied the runes etched on the Flask stopper, searching for any sign of weakness in the sorcery. Late one night, while Adana slumbered, Kirabo fluttered near the faint inscriptions. He traced them carefully with a slender claw, hoping to find a hidden crack in the king's incantation. This ancient writing is from a time older than we know. If only I could unravel a single line, then maybe I could expedite the princess's release. We must hold on until the cursor's timeline ends, but perhaps we can prepare an escape route ahead of time. Kirabo mutters to himself. Though Kirabo's magical knowledge was limited by the small scope of his existence, he refused to give up. He believed that a cunning approach might grant them at least a flicker of influence over their fate. Meanwhile, Prince Jabari in Daolinzi was not idle. Distraught as he was, he still pressed forward. Whenever travelers arrived with tales of a hidden enchantment or a wise shaman in a far-off land, he swiftly mounted his loyal horse and went forth to investigate. Days turned into nights as he scoured dense rainforest, crossed raging rivers, and braved scorching deserts in search of any clue that might lead him to Adana's whereabouts. A few times, he caught glimpses of illusions that looked like her face in the reflection of a waterhole or in the drifting smoke of a campsite. Each time, he felt renewed determination to keep going. And would say a vow to himself, "I shall find you, no matter how long it takes." By the second year of Adana's imprisonment, Lady Safiya had embedded herself within Prince Jabari's court. She claimed to possess knowledge of powerful spells that could locate the missing princess, but her motivations were less than noble. She craved a magical necklace said to lie in Jabari's ancestral vault. That object, once worn, could lift the monstrous decals from her body, allowing her to appear human at all hours. So, Lady Safiya sowed rumors in Daolinzi's corridors that Adana had betrayed Jabari, that she fled with another suitor. She planted illusions in his bedchamber, murmurs that tormented him in the quiet hours before dawn. My dear prince, if Adana truly loved you, wouldn't she have sent word by now? Lady Safiya asked. Prince Jabari, the distracted, uncertain, replied softly. Perhaps you speak with reason, Lady Safiya. But a part of me can't let go. I feel in my soul that she never abandoned me. Lady Safiya smiled behind her veil. She intended to push Jabari into despair so that he would finally acquiesce and propose marriage to her. Once betrothed, she believed he would gift her the precious heirloom from his vault, thus freeing herself forever from the witch's curse. Inside the bottle, Adana could sense, in faint pulses, that the world outside was shifting. There were moments when she felt cold dread, an inexplicable wave of negative energy, as if something threatened her beloved Jabari. Kirabo also sensed these waves, as they rippled through the enchantment. It appears that unkind magic stirs beyond our confines. We can only hope your prince remains steadfast. Kirabo, hush. Adana replied firmly. If I know Jabari as well as I believe, he will never abandon hope. And neither should we. As the third year of captivity dawned, the mystical bonds around the crystal flask began to weaken. The lines of power etched into the stopper flickered, no longer as vibrant. For the first time since her imprisonment, Adana could sense an actual shift in the magic that surrounded her. That evening Kirabo approached Adana, his eyes bright. The time is close, princess. Your father's decree stated 3 full years, and we are drawing near that mark. Prepare yourself, for the day of release comes soon. Adana's heart raced. Freedom, after so much despair, was on the horizon. She envisioned running into Jabari's arms, explaining everything, and proving that her love was true. She imagined a joyous reunion beneath Mukarema's great baobab tree, the sun shining overhead as the entire village celebrated. But hidden obstacles remained. King Shomari was still resolute, Prince Jabari was entangled with Lady Safiya's illusions, and, worst of all, Adana's father might impose a new brand of punishment should he discover she was freed. On a hot afternoon, when the sky blazed with an unrelenting sun, the magical inscriptions finally lost their hold. The flask glowed in a blinding burst, and Princess Adana felt a jolt of energy course through her body. She stumbled out of the vessel, collapsing onto the lush grass of the palace garden. Kirabo, too, was liberated from his miniature size. For a fleeting moment, he returned to his former shape, a formidable serpent-like dragon with scales reflecting the shimmering patterns of African cloth. With a roar that sent birds scattering, he scooped Adana onto his back and launched himself into the skies, fleeing beyond Mukarema's walls. As Adana clings onto Kirabo, she speaks with gratitude. Thank you, Kirabo. We must go to Daolinzi. Jabari must know the truth. Hold tight, princess. The journey may not be simple, answered Kirabo. They soared above brown plains dotted with acacias. Warm gusts of wind buffeted them. Adana glimpsed her father's domain shrink beneath her, a swirl of dust rising where frightened villagers watched a gigantic dragon streak across the horizon. Kirabo landed on a secluded hill not far from Daolinzi's protective wooden walls, worried that his colossal presence might cause chaos. Once on the ground, the aftershock of the broken curse caused Kirabo to revert to a more humble size, still draconic, but no bigger than a dog now. Kirabo rolls his eyes at himself with slight humor. Well, that was fleeting. I suppose I'm stuck as a miniature guardian again. Princess Adana embraced him, tears of gratitude shining in her eyes. Together, they found a discreet entry into Daolinzi's capital, weaving through narrow alleyways, avoiding city guards. Adana disguised herself in a simple cloth wrap, so no one would recognize her. She had no idea what had become of Prince Jabari or how he might react if he believed the false rumors of her betrayal. Within the palace walls, despite the throng of attendants and the hustle of daily palace life, luck favored Adana. She crossed paths with a weary steward on an errand. Seizing an opportunity, she begged him for work, hoping to blend in among the staff. Thus began Adana's life as an ordinary palace helper. She polished floors, carried trays of steaming tea, and gleaned bits of gossip from the other servants who whispered about an upcoming royal wedding. The bride, they said, was Lady Safiya. Adana's heart trembled at this discovery. Could it truly be that Prince Jabari intended to wed another? She knew nothing of Lady Safiya's cunning illusions or the prince's desperation. But she resolved not to disrupt Jabari's happiness if he had, indeed, moved on. Time pressed on. The palace buzzed with preparations, kitchen staff cooking a feast of roasted yams, spiced rice, marinated meats, and sweet bean cakes. Tailors rushing to finalize ceremonial garments made of vibrant Kent cloth and shimmering beads. Musicians rehearsed ancestral drum rhythms for the grand ceremony. Princess Adana worked tirelessly in the background, her mind racing with questions. Each footstep she took across the palace floors reverberated with the echo of heartbreak. Yet her resolve to see Jabari at least once, to witness his contentment, kept her going. Unbeknownst to the palace at large, Lady Safiya's curse caused her to transform into a daunting witchly form during daylight. A thick cloak concealed her twisted, supernatural features whenever she ventured from her private quarters. Come evening, though, she emerged radiant, bewitching in an entirely different manner. Lady Safiya stood by the mirror talking to her reflection. Once Prince Jabari bestows upon me the ancestral necklace, my daytime curse will be lifted. I must see this wedding through. She paced her chamber with nervous energy, well aware she had a narrow window of time each night to interact with Jabari as a fully human figure. Even more pressing, the marriage was set for the next full moon. As the day of the ceremony approached, Lady Safiya found herself in a dilemma. She needed to participate in the public wedding events despite her monstrous daytime form. Desperate, she devised a plan to have a substitute stand in for her beneath the ceremonial canopy, masked behind a heavy wedding veil. One afternoon, while flustered and pacing, she spied Adana carrying a tray. Safiya's piercing gaze sized Adana up, tall, lithe, and graceful even in a servant's attire. The perfect impromptu stand-in. You, girl. Serve me here. Quickly. Lady Safiya commanded Adana. Adana approached, lowering her eyes as any servant would. Lady Safiya, imperious, but hiding her panic, orders Adana. I require a stand-in at the ceremony tomorrow. You will wear the bridal robes, cover your face with a thick veil, and speak only when spoken to. Is that clear? Though Adana's heart threatened to pound out of her chest, she bowed her head. And answer softly, as you wish, my lady. Thus, by a twist of fate, the very woman who had come so far to find her beloved prince was now commanded to appear as his bride, but remain hidden. The day of the wedding dawned. Drummers gathered in the palace courtyard, pounding out rhythms that echoed through the city's winding streets. Vendors sold bright flowers and sweet confections. Villagers danced in circles, celebrating what they believed to be a union that would bring prosperity to Daolinzi. In the palace's grand hall, princes and ambassadors from neighboring lands sat on carved wooden benches, waiting to witness the vows. At the far end of the aisle, Prince Jabari stood in regal attire, a rich, patterned robe and an ornate headdress signifying his lineage. His eyes, however, appeared distant, as if weighed down by sorrow he could not name. Prince Jabari quietly spoke to himself. Adana, if only you could see this day. Perhaps I must accept that you are truly gone. Suddenly, the officiant signaled for the bride's entrance. Slowly, Adana, clothed in exquisite cloth, stepped forward. A thick veil obscured her face. She trembled behind the fabric, seeing Jabari again for the first time in years. Each step felt like an eternity, tears threatening to pool beneath the veil. In a hushed voice so only Jabari could hear, Adana chanted a short verse she improvised on the spot, calling upon the wind, the flowers, the ancestors. She spoke in a cryptic manner so that he alone might understand something was amiss. O swirling breeze, do you carry my voice? O blooming petals, do you open by choice? Remember me now, though hidden I remain. A truth unspoken, bearing silent pain. Prince Jabari froze. He sensed something deeply familiar in that voice, though it wavered. A flicker of recognition sparked, like the first glow of a dawn horizon. Who are you? Why do your words carry the echoes of a memory I cannot fully grasp? Prince Jabari whispers. Adana dared not respond plainly, for the ceremony was taking place under many watchful eyes. She merely nodded, letting the officiant proceed. Then, at the pinnacle of the wedding rites, Prince Jabari fastened the ancestral necklace around Adana's neck, this necklace that Lady Safiya so desperately sought. Its metal shimmered in the midday sun, a testament to ancient craftsmanship that supposedly held potent charms. Hidden away, disguised by her cloak and cowering in a side chamber, Lady Safiya wrung her hands in agitation. She realized that once the wedding was complete, Jabari might give the necklace to his newly wedded bride. But that bride was not Safiya, it was the unknown servant who wore the veil. A swirl of magical energy coursed through the palace as the vow was sealed. Outside, thunderheads gathered in an otherwise clear sky, reflecting the tumult of Safiya's rage. This cannot be. That necklace is my birthright to break this curse. Lady Safiya snarls. She sprang into action, racing toward the newly wedded couple. A swirl of dark clouds seemed to follow. In the royal chamber reserved for the newly married pair, Prince Jabari confronted the bride. Candlelight flickered across painted walls, showing golden scenes of Daolinzi's legends. Bride of mine, I beg you, reveal your face and repeat those words you whispered. Something in them touched a hidden corner of my heart. Prince Jabari asked nervously. Adana, trembling at the sound of his voice, carefully lifted the veil. The instant their eyes met, a torrent of emotion washed across Jabari's face. Prince Jabari was astonished and overjoyed. Adana, can it truly be you? With tears streaming down her face, Adana answered softly. Yes, it is I. Forgive me for deceiving you this day. I believed you had given your love to another. But I had to see you, to ensure your happiness. Their words spilled in a rush, 3 years of heartbreak, illusions, and shattered hopes flooding back in an overwhelming wave. The question of how she escaped, and why she was here, hung heavy in the air. But before they could fully share their stories, the door to the chamber flew open, revealing Lady Safiya, her cloak thrown aside. Daylight poured in from a high window, exposing her monstrous form, shriveled skin, twisted features, eyes burning with envy. "You treacherous princess! You have no right to my ceremony. That necklace is mine to claim, so that I might become fully human at all times." Dark energy crackled around Lady Safiya's fingertips as she unleashed a burst of chaos magic. Adana braced herself, but the necklace glowed bright as 1,000 midday suns, deflecting the assault. Lightning-like arcs rebounded across the room. Prince Jabari, surprised and alarmed, "Safiya, what sorcery is this? You deceived me." A fierce struggle began. The walls rattled under the force of Lady Safiya's conjured winds, sending tapestries fluttering wildly. The room teetered on the edge of destruction as Lady Safiya's illusions turned the air thick and heavy. Kirabo the dragon enters in a flash. "Princess, I found you." He let loose a plume of ember-like fire, pushing back Safiya's raging spells. The scene was chaotic, a collision of mystical energies swirling in the chamber. Back in Mukarema, King Jabari had begun to sense that his daughter was no longer within the confines of the crystal prison. The fountain in the palace garden had lost its mystical glow, its waters now calm and still. He feared that Adana's release, unplanned by him, would stoke her anger and bring shame upon his kingdom. Still, his paternal love gnawed at him. Despite his hasty decision to curse her, his heart ached to see her again. Could he truly make amends after all this time? And what of Prince Wekesa, who still expected Adana's hand? How shall I face my child? Have I lost her love forever? Did I destroy her happiness? Perhaps there is a way to rectify this, King Jabari said to himself. Meanwhile, back in Daolinzi's palace. In the swirling maelstrom, the ancestral necklace radiated with unstoppable force. Adana felt it pulsing against her chest, as though urging her to act. She raised her trembling hands, chanting words she did not fully comprehend, but which sprang from deep in her soul, perhaps from an ancient memory or a whisper of the ancestors guiding her. Lady Safiya's illusions tore at the walls, but the necklace formed a protective barrier. A blinding flash erupted, sending shock waves through the palace corridors. Servants cowered, guests screamed in alarm, and Prince Jabari shielded his eyes. When the light receded, Lady Safiya had crumpled to the floor, her monstrous form shimmering. She gazed up in astonishment, tears pooling in her cursed eyes. I only wanted freedom from this wretched shape. I never intended to remain an outcast, living half a life. Adana replies with her voice quivering but yet compassionate, if wearing this necklace will grant you peace, I cannot, in good conscience, deny you. But you must cease your attacks. I too know what it is to be trapped. Adana then carefully unclasped the necklace, stepping toward Lady Safiya. Prince Jabari gasped in alarm, unsure if this was wise. Kirabo perched on a fallen pillar, his eyes flicking anxiously between Adana and the subdued witch. Far away, King Jabari paces his palace in Mukarema, burdened by shame and regret, sensing that his daughter's destiny unfolds beyond his reach. The villagers of Daolinzi tremble as the palace quakes with magical aftershocks, not knowing what tomorrow will bring. Will Adana release her rightful claim to the enchanted necklace to aid Safiya? If she does, can she protect herself from any trickery that might remain in the witch's heart? Will King Shomari arrive in Daolinzi to atone for the suffering he caused his only child? The hours stretch on, and the path forward is fraught with both peril and promise. Our tale has yet to reach its resolution. The dance of love, magic, and redemption. And so, dear champions, we find ourselves at a fragile crossroads. Princess Adana, newly freed from her father's curse, stands face to face with the witch who would have stolen her beloved's heart, yet a witch who is also a cursed soul craving redemption. Prince Jabari, overwhelmed with relief and confusion, must reconcile the swirl of conflicting truths around him. Kirabo, the loyal dragon companion, remains poised to defend Adana at all cost. But for now, we pause on the threshold of these unfolding events. Do not fret, our tale shall not end here. More revelations, confrontations, and heartfelt moments lie ahead. This story teaches us that true strength is not found in forcing one's will upon another. If you found yourself moved by this tale, remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more captivating folktales and engaging stories from across the world. Your support helps us bring these age-old lessons to life. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Who was your favorite character? What did you learn from the story? And most importantly, watch out for part 2 of the story. Until next time, let the hush of the night hold you in a gentle embrace, and let your imagination roam the dusty paths and starlit skies of Mukarema and Daolinzi, where destinies remain entwined in the loom of fate.